Hello, welcome to my channel and thank you for being here. Today I'm going to discuss three images again. And these images, the next series of images that I will be discussing, look at children, youth and children. Um, and as I will remind you that I am extracting the initial series of images from this mid-career retrospective call and response. And as I'm working through the, the catalog of that exhibition, and just going image by image. So we're at the point where the way that the catalog at least was laid out, we focus on children at this point. And the first images that you've seen and are looking at now, the caption reads, "Temporary school set up for people displaced by violence that destroyed the Gandhi Museum, Inanda, Durban, 1987." And as Durban people will know, and people should know, Gandhi once lived in Durban, and the place that he owned land in and had a residence, which now is part of Inanda, um, had a well disposed and equipped museum, because he had a printing press there, for instance, um, and so it housed the legacy of Gandhi. And in that violence of the mid '80s that erupted in the run up to political change, that museum was destroyed, and a lot of other people were displaced and had their homes, and schools were destroyed, and so this became a temporary, very temporary, as you can see, school at that point for young learners. And I was based in Durban at the time for a couple of years, and covered some of that unrest and displacement and just the enormous shifts that were taking place in the region. And so um, made this image as part of that documentation and photographic coverage at that point. I should go back and have a look at what where the Gandhi Museum has been re-established. I haven't really worked in the Durban area since, so I'm afraid I can't um, say much more about what has transpired since. I think, you know, peace, fortunately, a semblance of peace did return to this province and this region, and notwithstanding, all the difficulties that we still face around development, there is definitely progress happening in that region, I think. So the second image that we are looking at now, the caption reads, "Rural cafe in the community of Mangeta, home to the descendants of transfrontier man John Donne, KwaZulu-Natal, 1986." And I am located right now in Mangeta, and I'm a descendant of this transfrontier man John Donne. And this cafe where this image was made was one that was part of the scenario of my childhood. It was a cafe that my school bus stopped at every school day on the return, and I frequented during my youth, especially my primary school days. So that, except for the sex, could well have been me in this image, this child that I discovered um, whilst revisiting. I was living back here briefly in the mid 80s, and continuing to document. And I did a lot of I've an extensive documentation of the Mangeta community, that the descendants of John Donne, that I still have a yearning to produce as an exhibition of which I'm, have a working title, as of the descendants. These are the descendants, quite an extraordinary community in many ways, in that our ancestor was a white chief of the Zulus, very controversially so, but had close to 50 wives and over 100 kids. And so we are part of an extraordinary clan-like family. And this young kid is undoubtedly a part of that family. So it's a very complex story, and I've documented it for over 40 years now. And yeah, resources permitting, maybe that exhibition will emerge, which kind of looks at a very rare phenomena in this province as well, of hybridized mixed race people living on the land, legacy of that transfrontier man, John Donne, because not many other hybridized people still have access to the land, or had access to the land uh, in the apartheid spatial planning of the 1950s and 60s and 70s. People were displaced off the land. So this image is a glimpse into that era, that period, and that past, and is in fact still part of our present. More images will emerge over time, because I documented this region so extensively, as I continue the series, no doubt. So the next image is also on a rural theme. A lot of my images are that. I mean, well, the first one was certainly not. It's Inanda, semi-rural, I suppose, peri-urban. But the image we're looking at now, the caption reads, "Children arriving at a harvest festival, Herschel, Eastern Cape, 1989." And I'm afraid I can't remember the name of the organization that I visited this place with at that time. But it was an organization that worked with rural communities, Johannesburg-based organization, and we were there to witness this harvest festival. Quite a fascinating event for me, at least. Wasn't that familiar with such. I always wanted to photograph more harvest festivals, having seen this one, but was never quite able to access and find the resources to get out. I mean, this is a large land we live in South Africa, and just getting anywhere is not that easy. So usually I had to piggyback with other organizations that worked in these regions. But you see the organized nature of the community here, with the kids, bringing in benches from elsewhere for use during this very well organized program that existed. And I've extensive documentation of the huge cultural theme that took place, themed program with drama skits and praise poets and dancers and lots of feasting, and yeah, very extraordinary. I wish I could have photographed Herschel much more, and I wish I could return to Herschel, as a matter of fact, to see, where Herschel is now. Has it prospered, or like in many other rural areas, is it experiencing travails post 94? Shouldn't be that way, but unfortunately, we haven't quite got our rural game on as much as I would like to see it. But I suppose you can't do everything at once, but we do need to prioritize it, because here, this community was very successful in producing food back then, and I'm hoping that they are continuing with that success of being able to produce food in the future. And yeah, so I think I will end it here and say that thank you for watching. And more information on myself and my work can be found on my website, a link to which, including my blog and email address, can be found in the video description below. If you like this talk, remember to click the like button and press subscribe. It helps the channel grow.